Now I'm going to take you through the Sicilian defense. This is one of the biggest complexes in chess of a single opening. It is one of the most complicated and I think one of the most fascinating. It's an opening I have played all my life, and I can't think of a top player who has never played the Sicilian. It's something you dabble in all your life. All the great champions have played it. I mean, the Naidov, for instance, was played by Fischer, Kasparov. I've also been playing it a lot. You have the Dragon variation, you have the Rouser, and there are even some fascinating sidelines that lead to amazing positions. So this is a very sharp, very complicated opening. It's easy to win a game, it's easy to lose a game, but you'll almost certainly have a lot of fun. I could tell you that all you need is a couple of days here and there, but the Sicilian is something many players have spent their whole lives analyzing, and still we don't know the answer. But it's a fascinating journey. It'll teach you a lot about chess. It'll also allow you to pick up ideas and concepts that will be valuable in other openings as well. So I think this opening, because of the unbalanced nature, teaches you a lot about chess on the edge, and this is a skill that will apply to your entire chess game. So the move e4 is met by c5. And already you can see the slight imbalance. Black is not occupying the center of the square. He's approaching it from the flank. This is typically met by knight f3, and then one of several moves is d6, d4, because a lot of the other moves don't have the same punch. C takes d4, knight takes d4. And what has happened here is white has swapped a central pawn for a flank pawn. Therein lies the advantage for black. But white has more space, and he has one knight out on the fourth rank, which is ready for action. So this means that black is responding strategically, and white is usually trying to crush black by moving his pieces fast, by playing aggressive chess, moving his kingside pawns forward, anything to use the extra time and space that he has, whereas black tries to prove that white is overreaching himself by various methods. So there is the Scheveningen variation, or if you want to pronounce it very accurately, I can't do it, only the Dutch can, Scheveningen or something like that. You have knight c6, which is the Rouser variation, by the way. There is g6, which is the Dragon variation. You can guess from that this variation breathes fire. And then you have the Naidov variation. And this one was a favorite of Fischer, of Kasparov, of mine. It was named after the Polish-Argentinian player Miguel Naidov. But the list doesn't stop there. Practically everyone has dabbled in this line at some point or the other because it's so fascinating you just want to try it once. But that doesn't even begin to complete all the possibilities in the Sicilian. You can play e6, and in contrast with d6, where a lot of the play tends to revolve around the dark squares, e6 has a different vibe to it. After d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4. You can play moves like a6, and you will ask me, isn't that breaking a lot of opening rules? And that's the thing about the Sicilian. It breaks the mold. It's always leading to very, very unusual positions. The idea behind a6 is that black will then want to play b5, and then later bishop b7. And when white has a knight on c3 defending this pawn, then black will play b4 to undermine the knight like that and capture the pawn. So that is the reason that a6 is played. So in a very, very convoluted way, it's fighting for the center as well. And that gives you a sense of the kind of open mind you have to play the Sicilian. You have to be receptive to very unusual ideas and always calculate very hard. There is also knight c6, which could lead, if you go d4, to the Sveshnikov variation, which is e5. Believe me, even the greatest players, when they first saw this, were pretty horrified. There was a lot of resistance that something that weakened so many squares could be good. In fact, the news kept getting worse. White has one beautiful square here, another potentially beautiful square there, and it seems that black is just going to be crushed. But slowly, Sveshnikov, Timoshenko, and these players from Chelyabinsk found that black is in fact doing very, very well. Vladimir Kramnik played many amazing games in this variation, the Sveshnikov variation, and Alexei Shirov has played some amazing games here. It continues to frustrate white chess players as to how to make progress here. And so on. It is a very, very difficult thing. In fact, each of the sub-variations of the Sicilian could be considered an opening in itself because of the number of games played, of the amount of material necessary to study, and so on. Let me take you through one or two beautiful concepts. A6, bishop e3, e6. I'll just quickly go over the lines. b5, g4. Already, this is the Sicilian. White's making moves on the king side, but because white is trying to expand his space advantage, and once he pushes away the knight, that will give him extra possibilities. So black goes knight bd7, queen d2, knight b6, castles, knight fd7, bishop d3, bishop b7. Let's say g5, rook c8, queen f2. Well, you've heard of exchange sacrifices. This is a pure one. Black plays rook takes c3, bc3, and then just continues developing his pieces normally, as if nothing had happened. And his idea is eventually something like queen c, knight a4, followed by queen a5, and start an attack against white's weak queen side. This idea of the exchange sacrifice is often used in conjunction with winning that pawn, because the knight is one of the pieces defending that pawn. But as I just tried to show, there are many variations where it can even be done as a pure sacrifice simply because it destroys white's pawn structure on the side where his king is. Of course, it's not only one-way traffic. There are lines like this, and I will be slightly inaccurate with black just to illustrate my point. g5, castles, and now it's white's turn to mount a ferocious attack. f6 takes, and something like bishop d4, or f takes e7, queen e7, bishop d4. So it's this kind of play that makes the Sicilian so special. I'm just giving you very, very basic examples. The actual versions of these ideas are much more complex. But just to show you how all the rules get broken and you get fascinating play like this, and people love to mount a strong attack like this. If I'm not mistaken, the Sicilian is the most popular opening in chess. So if you take one opening and see how many games are played there, the Sicilian will rank number 1. I'll just give you one more example. f4, queen b6. What an amazing move. You should not move your queen early. You should not move it twice, and you shouldn't go for pawns in the opening. And we're going to do all three. queen d2, queen b2, b1, queen a3. But the Sicilian is about one thing, if nothing else. It's about that pawn. And what black is doing is loosening the knight up, so undermining the knight by removing the pawn which was supporting it, even at the cost of moving his queen around over and over again. To this day, nobody knows how to get a clear advantage with white in this variation. And the name itself is a bit ironic. This is called the poisoned pawn. It was once considered poisoned. It turned out the pawn actually might not be poisoned, but the name stuck. And so to this day, it's known as the poisoned pawn variation. This is the knight off variation, and it's a variation that I have played many, many times, and I've won many nice games. And it's something that I always look forward to with great pleasure, because I know that you have to play actively, you have to play aggressively, but if you do it right, then the rewards are huge. So, but there are people who are as devoted to the dragon variation, and especially Tony Miles in the 70s did wonders for its reputation. You could study his games and go over a lot of them slowly with modern technology, but again and again you'll see the same ideas. Black in the Sicilian is always fighting for this pawn, and white is fighting for the initiative. Tony Miles would bring the rook to c8 and then sack on c3, this famous exchange sack I mentioned many, many times. So that idea permeates the whole of the Sicilian. But each individual setup, like I said, could be considered as own opening, but it shares certain features. And always the idea is when you swap the flank pawn for the center pawn, it leads to this very unbalanced position and very, very complex play. We have a lot of material here for you, a lot of tips and suggestions and lines, but even so, there are people who have dedicated their whole life to playing the Sicilian and still haven't gotten to the bottom of it. So you shouldn't look for an easy solution here, but if you want to enjoy chess, there is no better opening.